more people jump on as we get going. Hey, everybody, it's Mike Novak from the Novak Real Estate team, part of Real Brokerage. And today I am super excited to talk about growing a team. There are so many dimensions to this topic. And today we're going to focus on the 5 that we feel are the most important pillars of that to successfully grow your team. And today I am joined by my super good buddy and also a team leader for a team down Orange County, Colton Whitney. Colton's a super good friend of ours. We do a lot of life together. We're in some masterminds together. We just like to hang out. We like to go to the gym, go to Vegas, whatever. Do a lot of life though. And Colton has really grown an incredible team. And I'm hoping he's going to unpack and share some of the ways that he did that here on today's webinar. So Colton, go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy.
Yeah, so my name's Colton, like he said, out here in Orange County. Started my career in Las Vegas and absolutely despise everything about Las Vegas, the heat, the transiency of it, just the quality of life. It wasn't something that I wanted for myself personally or for my daughter. We had a pretty successful business out in Vegas. The year that I left, we sold 412 homes. Decided that I wanted to go do that in Orange County. Assumed I would just go into Orange County and be able to sell 412 homes right away, and had an absolute reality check, which I'm really grateful for in hindsight, because it taught me a lot about leadership. It taught me a lot about business. It taught me a lot about the things that I completely failed to understand due to immaturity, my age, inexperience. So coming out and rebuilding a business that I contributed towards building in Las Vegas, here in Orange County, gave me the ability to start fresh, fix the things that I didn't want. And it's really, really been helpful having to kind of start from scratch and rebuild it, which is something that I don't wish upon anybody. However, it was one of the most valuable lessons I ever learned.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate how hard it is to duplicate what you've got now. Like if you're in a market, if you go somewhere else, like if you move. Jason Smith is a really good buddy of mine, and Jason was like basically, top agent in this part of New York that he lived in, and then he moved his family to Florida last year, a year and a half ago or so, and it's taken him a long time to rebuild that momentum that he once had, the branding and the mind share and the authority and things like that. So I completely understand how hard that can be. I think when you and I met, like we met through the Wailopa community, and you were only doing like $30 million a year, weren't you?
Less. At that time, it was probably in the 20s.
Wow. Okay. And what did your team look like then?
Back then, it was 2 of us.
Yeah. So not bad for 2 people though, right?
Yeah. I mean, dude, we were okay with it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think one thing that was really important that I wish I would have known sooner was the importance of knowing what you want to build, because the path to getting there will be that much more efficient and expedited if you know the right steps to take. And I think now that's one of the things that's so valuable about, that's one of the big transformations of our industry that I'm seeing. Like we're doing it right now. There's so many people who can teach you the steps and learn from the mistakes. Like we didn't have that back then in the way that it's being distributed now in the industry. But like having an understanding of what it is I wanted to build, I had a number in mind that I wanted to hit, but I had absolutely no clue how I wanted to do it, whether it was for micro teams, mega teams, solo. There's no clear understanding or path.
Yeah, nice. So a little background on our team too. In 2019, I was fully out of production, and we had about 20 agents on our team. And, we kind of had heard like, hey, if you step out of production, you can just mentor your agents. You can, kind of lead your people. You can vacation, travel the world, all this like really nice, fun sounding stuff. Like who doesn't want to live that life where you never have to talk to a buyer or seller again, and you can just go out there and lead your team and travel? Like that sounds awesome in theory. In practice, it was kind of a disaster for us, and that was 100% on my shoulders as the leader of our team. Being out of production, I was just coaching and training my people a lot, and out of our 20 agents, less than 5 of them were selling 15 or more homes a year. Like they were super low performing agents for the culture of our team. Our team typically has pretty high producing agents. Like last year, the average units were about 46 units per agent on our team. And one day my wife and I, Rachel, looked at each other and we just said, hey, what the hell are we doing here? Like we're not having any fun. We feel like we're babysitting. We feel like we're having to micromanage people. We're not able to inspire and lead in the way that we want. and we need to do something about it. So we ended up putting in really aggressive performance benchmarks to our team in order to stay within our sandbox. If you couldn't hit those benchmarks, then you were going to get rolled off the team. And I also stepped into production. I met this guy that's been huge for Colton and for myself, a guy by the name of Eric Hatch. And Eric Hatch introduced us to the showing partner and listing partner model. So Rachel, being on the list side, hired a listing partner. I hired a showing partner, and we went off to the races. Ultimately, out of those 20 agents, only 5 ended up making the cut. But I will share with you, in 2019, we sold 189 units with those 20 agents. In 2021, we sold 246 units with just 5 people. So it is completely possible to have a very profitable team and have a small team. If you want to build a mega team, that's totally cool too. Like, there's so many different ways that you can do this. It's just really a function of where you enjoy spending your time and your focus. Colton and I were just having this conversation on Marco Polo this morning about when do you step out of production. Well, there's a lot to answering that question, but the biggest thing is what brings you joy. If coaching your people and managing them brings you joy, by all means do that. If working with buyers and sellers half the time is doing that for you, then do that, and spend the other half the time working with your people. So it just depends on you. But for us at that point in time, we just really felt like we needed to go smaller and go a lot deeper. We felt like we'd gone so wide that there was no depth to this, and we weren't where we wanted to be. That year that we did 189 transactions, I will share with you guys, we did $2.5 million in GCI, and we netted less than $250,000. That is an insane amount of risk and effort to make that small amount of money. And that's between the two of us. So not so good. But on that year, we did 246 transactions. We were able to do 5 or 6 times that amount of profit. So total game changer. A lot of people will say to Colton, hey, I don't want to build a team. Do you ever hear that? Like, I want to keep this small.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you say to people like that?
It's tough. I respect anybody who doesn't. And I respect anybody who has that mindset now, but I pray that they have the ability to think a little bit bigger and understand that there is a balance to their life that them and their families deserve that require you to build a team, whether it be just to leverage you, and it has nothing to do with agents or anything like that. But we've done the whole working our ass off, working 100, literally, I mean, we've done the whole working 100 hours a week, never having any sleep, never having time to do anything, going on vacation caused nothing but severe panic attacks and stress and damage to your business and to your clients. So I always encourage everybody to at least understand the value of leveraging yourself through team members who can handle the administrative stuff.
So what you're saying then, Colton, is that it's okay to be the only agent on your team, but to build leverage around you. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I want to make that point super clear to people, because oftentimes people think that when you say the word team, that we mean adding agents, and that's not necessarily what we're saying you need to do. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, kind of walk you guys through a little bit of what this looks like. So the first big concept that Colton and I are going to go over with you guys is what we were just talking about, and it's your model. Most agents, when they want to build a team, they just start adding buyer agents to their team. They usually have an over-reliance or kind of an overflowing bucket of leads coming in that they can't follow up with. And they just think, okay, I'm going to add an agent, but they haven't actually built a really stable base to add value for that agent. Can you share some more information about that, Colton? Like, I know you went through that at one point too, where you had a lot of agents, you didn't have a lot of support for those people. What did that look like, and what were the challenges with it?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes, because teams have become, teams are completely taking over brokerages and what their role in the industry was. And so it's become kind of a hot topic that people like to talk about. And as a result, I see a ton of people just say, no, I want to start a team. And it's like, okay. And I know them personally. I know what their business is. I know, I know the ins and outs of it because I've been working with them for a while. And it's terrifying that you would consider building a team. And again, I did it this way. So when I say that it's the wrong way, it's because I personally know it's the wrong way. But people will say, I'm going to start a team in hopes that they're going to be able to build a business off of the backs of their teams. And it's just a guaranteed way to fail. I've never seen anybody have any success with that.
It's like people have the thought that these people work for them instead of as the leader. As a leader, you work for your people.
I work for you.
Yeah. It's completely flipped around, and they think that just riding the backs of their people, like you said, is the key to the lifestyle they want. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. That's even a reminder that I have to give our operations team here. is sometimes you'll see, and it's not a bad thing, and they're trying to hold people accountable, but it's easy to allow that to slip in, is that they have to do what we tell them, and we have to, I mean, they work for us, and it's, oh, we 100% work for them. We can inspire and put pressure up from the bottom up, but that whole pressure from the top down thing, it just isn't going to be conducive for creating a good culture in the business, for sure.
Right. And for those people that, like, I want to be very clear here. Colton and I both have the same belief, and correct me if I'm wrong, Colton, that not everybody should build a team. In fact, most people should not. But like what Colton said, even if you start adding leverage around you, you now have a team. So it's important to think through that concept and the impacts that that's going to have to you and your culture and how you build this. So that's why the model is the first concept. There's two parts of this model I really want to talk about today. And the first one is what we call the showing partner model. Do you want to fill people in on the showing partner model, Colton?
Yeah. And I would like to, because I found this after finding you guys. And I'm super grateful because Mike and I, we literally were having this conversation in a Marco Polo prior to this. We have very different teams, but with the same fundamental beliefs and the same core values and the same principles that drive them. We believe going deep on your people. We believe in maintaining high profitability. We believe in not just going wide, because it's a huge mistake. One thing that I had initially a major issue with, and it was I was working 24/7. Like, we've had a ton of growth, and it's crazy to me when I think back on where we are now versus where we were just in 2020, when it was just three of us and I didn't have any admin or operations or any of that stuff. But it drove me nuts because you guys are the ones that got me on this concept. And this is how I do believe every single team should start, before you start trying to leverage with team agents, because it is a massively less profitable model than hiring the showing partner model. And for us, when I ran the numbers on it, to give the exact numbers of how much more profitable stays within the business and in your pocket, here in Orange County, for me, it was about 38% more money stayed with the business by utilizing this showing partner model than it did with the team agent model.
And that's even paying their salary, right?
Yeah, that's including paying their salary. And it's a huge thing. And like, for me, it's speaking from somebody who is evaluating this concept. It's like, well, will my clients ever really be okay with me giving this, like, with me handling the conversation the way that you instructed, and with me passing it off to somebody? I was like, that pass off is going to lose me all my clients. And I was super wrong on that.
Right.
But once I finally, and I'm sure you're about to dive deep on it, but I have a daughter. I was a dad at 16 years old, did not want to do real estate. In fact, I hate selling real estate. I don't like dealing in client interactions.
Your secret's safe with Colton.
Yeah, I mean, dude, and it's funny because people think that I really didn't want to do this in any way, shape, or form. It was one thing I could do to where I could scale and live the life I wanted to live. I had a really great mentor that got me started in it. But anyway, I just worked constantly, and I was trying to build this team and at the same time service my clients. And it just was an impossible thing to do because the time demands of dealing with my clients didn't give me the time to actually be the CEO of the business, and my team and my staff were the ones who got the negative result of that. So we did this, and I'll never forget the first time I started with my showing partner, the very first weekend that she was on her own and running. I was with my daughter. I'm 31 years old. My daughter is 15 years old. And we were out at the beach, and my daughter the night before was like, "Hey Dad, what time?" Because she knew I wanted to go to the beach. She goes, "Hey Dad, what time do you want to go to the beach?" And I was like, "Whenever, what time?" And I saw her kind of look confused. And she said, "Okay, well, let's wake up, we'll have breakfast, and then we'll go." So we spend the day at the beach, and we wrap up, and we're getting done. And I keep asking Tessa, like, "Hey Dad, do we need to go?" No, we're good. We don't got to go. So I noticed halfway through the day why she was asking these questions. And it's because I had conditioned my daughter to be completely used to me getting like maybe 25 to 35% of my time. She was completely conditioned to expect me to have to drop her off and go disappear, run off with clients, or for me to have to go to a meeting. And it just completely broke my heart when I realized why she was asking me the questions that she was asking. She didn't know about this model that I had implemented. And when we finished up at the beach, she's like, "Hey, I'll go ahead and go back." She's like, "I got some homework and stuff to do." I was like, "Well, no, I don't have to meet any clients. Let's go ahead, and do you want to go to the pool?" And she looked at me and she got this big smile on her face. And she said, "We can?" I said, "Yeah, Tess, I don't have any clients today." She's like, awesome. So we go to the pool, we hang out, and I have my phone. I left my phone in the kitchen island. Like I didn't even bring it with us. We go to the pool and we're sitting there and my daughter reaches over, and I try not to tear up every time I tell this story, but she literally reaches over, she grabs my hand and she's like, hey dad, I just really wanted to tell you how much I appreciated us being able to spend this time together. And like for me, the fact that I'd gone 15 years without understanding the importance of this in that exact moment made me feel like the worst father in the world. And it made me completely regret everything that I had done. And it made me realize that it wasn't worth it because the fact that I'd conditioned my daughter to think that she couldn't have that type of quality of time without it impacting our business or our life, because she understood all that.
Right.
However, like having this model, like how grateful I am for it. And I want to tell you this because without you, I never would have had the connections to Robbie, and I wouldn't have had the connections to Eric, and I wouldn't be in your guys' sandbox. I wouldn't be running any of this stuff. And now the quality of life that I have with my daughter and the life that I have, I'd like to be a better father and a better leader and a better CEO and a better friend and a better son. I don't have that when we just don't have the time. So like when I tell people the importance of this model, I wish I would have caught it so much sooner. And I like to tell this story up front so people just get past your bullshit of my clients need me and I can't do this. My clients won't accept it, because not only do they accept it, my relationships with them are better, and my ability to service every other factor of my life in the different buckets is 10 times what it was when I tried to do all this on my own. So that was a super long answer on this, and I apologize for it.
No, I love that story, man. And it kind of, it chokes me up a little bit every time I hear that, because I'm just so proud of you for making that a priority and getting back to what's super important. You know, making money is of course important. You have to have money to survive, and having a thriving career is all of our goals. But at the end of the day, none of that means anything if you don't have your family, right? So that's cool. And I had a really similar experience where I was at a client event party, and somebody asked me, this was like 3 years ago, they asked me what school my kids go to, and I didn't know the answer to that because I'd never taken them to school. Like I was that that removed from their life, and that was my version of that wake up call that you had, Colton. I just was blessed to have it when they were a little bit younger. So getting back to the showing partner model, the showing partner model is the absolute best way to leverage your time. And the showing partner is going to do 3 key things here. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I did like an hour-long webinar on this a few months ago. It's on our website, novakforreal.com, the number 4. But the showing partner is going to help you in 3 key ways. The first key way is leverage. They're going to go show houses, of course. They're going to sit inspections. They're going to go to appraisals if one needs to be opened up for an appraiser, things like that. They're going to do key handoffs, client gifts, things like that. So the first way they help you buy back your time is by providing you leverage. I tracked our numbers last year, Colton, and it took 11.7 homes shown per client to close. That is a lot of time. That's like 9 to 12 hours of time showing homes. So it's super, super time consuming to help people get through that phase of the buying journey. And so it makes sense to hand this off to somebody that has that as their dedicated job. And like Colton said, it is a limiting belief that agents have that they need to be the one that shows the house. Your client will feel actually more taken care of when they have 2 people they have access to. I always tell people that you have access to both myself and to my showing partner, and we work opposite schedules. So one of us is available to show you homes 7 days a week from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. If you are a single agent without a showing partner, you cannot provide that level of service to your clients. Your clients are going to win when you implement that. So leverage is the first thing. The second thing is training. The showing partners you bring on are typically going to be your next up agents. After they've gone through 2 years on our team of being a partner, they're eligible to earn their way into being a producing agent. So it's very important that training is a focus for them. It's almost like a paid internship where they're learning from you as an elite agent on how to do real estate correctly. We always say that people will make doctor level money being a top real estate agent. Like you can make $500,000-$600,000 a year, no problem as a top agent. You need to be committed to slowing down that process to really develop the skill set to bring people enough value to actually earn that kind of money. And there's no shortcut to that. So the second thing is the training. The third and final one is CRM maintenance. So that's going to be like responding to texts, responding to emails, things like that. They're going to help you with client communication, making sure your tasks are caught up in your CRM and things like that. So those are the 3 key things that showing partners do in our world, in the Hatch ecosystem, and also in Colton's as well.
Yeah.
The second model I want to talk about, I'm going to let Colton go deep on this because he has dominated this one exceptionally well. The ISA model is the other proven part of this model that for sure 100% works. Colton, I know for you and I, we've talked a lot about this model. This model is beautiful because it allows agents to focus on fulfilling their sale instead of having to set the next appointment. They're not trying to throttle back and forth on that. When I sit down with an agent, when I typically see them set a lot of appointments in a month, I don't see them actually pen anything because they're so focused on just meeting and signing new clients. On the reverse side of that, when I sit down with them and I see that they're pending a lot of houses, I see no appointments because they're focused on just fulfilling the sale. So they're really doing two jobs if they're being an ISA part-time and helping buyers and sellers as an agent part-time as well. And by doing that, they're doing neither one of those exceptionally well. Would you agree with that, Colton?
100%. Yep.
And so you have a savage ISA. For those that don't know Colton, Colton has a badass ISA. She's been with him for a while, and she sets a ton of opportunities for the agents. Talk more about how you found her and what the model looks like.
Yeah. So one thing that I think is very important on this, because we have just like anything and everything that we talk about today, there's a lot of people that will take the model and take a really half-cocked approach to its implementation and execution. And anytime, and it's something that I've learned, anytime something didn't work in my business, anytime something didn't work in my life, I was the main reason and the only reason that it didn't work. Because I hear it all the time. Well, I hired my ISAs. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. They don't know how to do this. They don't know how to do that. And it's like, well, who hired them? You did. So if you hired, if you hired the wrong person, you may have the perfect system, you may have the best leads, you may have all the systems and the processes and everything that you need. But at the end of the day, if you throw the keys to the person to drive it, you gave them a Ferrari, but they've never, ever been behind the wheel, they're most likely going to end up crashing the thing. Versus if you give the keys to a Ferrari to Mario Andretti, he's probably going to put up some really impressive performance times with that vehicle because he understands how to use it. He understands how to get the max performance out of it. ISAs, I consider the heart of my business. I think it is the most important role because it's what allows my team and my agents to focus on creating the production and focusing on people who are ready, willing, and able to transact, while the ISA at the exact same time is creating more people from our pipeline and taking out of our pool of leads, and then putting my agents on appointments as they're out being productive, getting people into contract. So how I got my ISA, let me be super clear. I got very, very lucky by having the right person completely fall into my lap. I went in before, and Novak, when you said talking about something that I dominate, I thought you were going to talk about leg day. But we had, before I started my little fitness journey here that I worked super close with Novak on, I needed to buy supplements and stuff. So I didn't know. So like any newbie, I'm like, oh, cool. The key to this is all supplements, has nothing to do with anything else. So I go into this store and I went in to buy protein, and I walked out and I paid $700 for a bunch of shit that I knew I didn't need. And I was like, that girl was really good at sales. I was like, I have to hire her. So went back in, gave her my card and said, hey, look, if we have the opportunity, if you ever want to get into real estate, she had mentioned something about it. I said, give me a call. So sure enough, she started with me. She started in a different role, but I found out immediately her skill was communicating with people. She's a very friendly person. She sounds great on the phone. She's very professional. She's very articulate. And as we found that as her skill, we 100% put all of her time, all of her attention on setting appointments, which has worked out really, really well. What makes Brittany different from all the people who have ISAs that don't, from ISAs that don't work out, is Brittany understands that this is a lifestyle position, no different than being a real estate agent. A lot of people feel that ISAs, that she understands that if her phone goes off at 8:00 at night, her income is paid she's paid a portion of commission. She understands that her ability to collect more money, and she's hungry, is she's got to respond to that lead at 8:00 at night. That girl sets appointments at Disneyland. She sets appointment, like literally at Disneyland on a roller coaster. She set 2 appointments while she was in line. That's an ISA and a mindset and a work ethic that most people do not have. So she is available on weekends. She's available at night. She works 24/7 because she understands that if she were an agent, she would also have to be available. She has to set appointments after hours. There is no such thing as just working a set of hours. And that's what really makes her different. And we have just focused very, very intently on focusing on skill set, working on objections. We have an ISA coach, Robbie T. So it's really just that work ethic, the mindset behind it, and just constantly working on improving her effectiveness in her ability to handle the conversation.
Have you noticed, Colton, that a really successful ISA is typically wired very different from a successful agent?
100%. Yeah.
And like if you're naturally an agent, you crave that face-to-face kind of connection with people, but that makes you a terrible ISA. Like you have to be super detailed to be a good ISA. You have to be a high C, which is like the analyzing part of people's personalities. You have to be very good at managing a database. And then you also have to be pretty direct to be able to take some rejection as well. Most
100%.
agents can't handle rejection, and most agents are terrified to get on the phone, and they're also not super analytical. They tend to just be, if they're very good face-to-face, that's their strength, right?
Yep, 100%. I saw Michael on here ask what percentage of our leads go to our ISA and what's our target for scheduled appointments. So any and all PPC leads, any and all leads that do not require an agent to claim them. So a lot of our leads, Realtor.com here has converted 100% to OpCity, Zillow Flex, Veterans United. We have a lot of lead sources that require an agent to claim that lead. So an agent will claim the lead, which of course they're responsible for doing because the ISAs, one, can't do it, and two, if you try to do the agent claim lead through an ISA, it'll fail. And I know a lot of top teams that have tried to do that. It did fail and they immediately switched back. What we do is we give them 3 days to get in meaningful conversation and or to set an appointment. So you have to be in meaningful conversation, which means you're going back and forth, you're in the process. We can tell via auditing of that lead, they're in good communication. There is a anticipated appointment coming forward in the near future. Or you have to have an appointment set. If you don't, the ISA after 3 days, we have a filter set up to where after 3 days, she can now have access to that pool of leads. So if there hasn't been an appointment set and if there hasn't been meaningful conversation, that lead will be pulled back by the ISA and the ISA will take over the conversation and will get that person to an appointment. Reason being, agents, when they're busy, really start to suck at follow-up. And if people are not low-hanging fruit and ready, willing, and able to go, agents will stop paying as much attention to them and start discounting the value of that lead, which we all know is not the case. All PPC goes to her. So if it's not an agent claimed lead, the ISA is going to be the one that handles that conversation from the time that that lead was acquired to the time that the appointment is set. And then she has time built into her weekly schedule where she's monitoring the leads that she's thrown off because she's the Tom Brady of the team. She wants to make sure she's only throwing that ball to people who have a track record of catching it and getting it to the end zone. So she tracks and manages all that stuff. So if I had the ability... she's probably right now. So our goal is for her to hit at least 15, which in our market is very, very good with the leads that she collects. Yeah. She's a rock star, but like I said, she works and there's weeks that we don't hit that. And there's weeks that we far surpass that. And it really is subject to the market. What she's amazing at, like when we just had this huge interest rate increase, we lost at least, I'll say 45 to 55% of our pipeline due to affordability, because the average person's payment in my market increased by $1,500 per month. Their percentage of their household income that was going to a household went from 47% to 67%, literally damn near within a week. What she's amazing at is identifying those people, top grading, and figuring out who's still in the market and who's not. And she's relentless about getting rid of the people who aren't.
That's awesome. And so on the compensation model side of things, in our world, we give ISAs 2 options. The first option helps them make the bridge from a different career to being an ISA, and that's $60,000 as a base salary and 2.5% of the deals that they set the appointment for that close. The second option that ISAs tend to move over to once they have a pipeline and a certain skill set is $45,000 and 5%. So the commission side goes up, but the salary goes down. And a good ISA can make $150,000 to $200,000 in a market like Colton's or I know back in Fargo, where Robbie and Eric are at, they're paying their ISAs more like $24,000 a year because their average price point is like $240,000, whereas in ours it's $750,000 and Colton's is like $2 million, right?
Yeah, so our average is it's definitely much higher. We have for our single family homes, our average is about 1.4. So the way we do it is it's a $50,000 base. If it's an PPC lead, She is paid 8% of the GCI. So off the top, she'll get 8%. If it's a flex lead, which of course, like any of the portal leads, she does not claim, but if they do not get it, it ends up going into a pond or into her pipeline. Because those leads do not require nearly as much nurturing, because they are higher intent buyers and sellers, if she converts one of those into an appointment, it's 4% instead of the 8%.
Yeah, there you go. And on the showing partner compensation side of things, just to go back to that for a minute. So we pay our partners $40,000 as a base salary. And then again, 5% of the deals that they showed the home on that result in a sale. What is your showing partner compensation model?
+194.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Sorry, you disconnected. Did you ask what mine was?
Yeah, what's your compensation model for showing partners?
Yeah, so for showing partner, it's a $45,000 base, 5% for any lead that they are responsible for setting the appointment. So if the ISA set the appointment, they don't collect that portion. If it's something that I give to them, they don't collect that portion. Anything that they show, they're paid another 5%. So they have an ability. They have an ability to collect a total of 10, but it's kind of to incentivize their output and their leading indicator KPIs is we want them to bring more deals to the table. So they're incentivized financially for them to do so.
Gotcha. Makes total sense. So this is organized left to right. So the first hire that we want you to make is the admin hire. And as we add people on, I want you to keep in mind this rule of the 20-to-1 rule. Eric talks about this all the time. This means that for every one person you add, you should be able to do about 20 transactions. So if you're just a rainmaker on your own, you should be able to do at least 20 transactions. When I add an admin, now you should be able to do 40 transactions, right? So it's important to keep in mind that 20-to-1 ratio. If you're in a higher priced market like Colton's, you could be more like a 12-to-1 just because the commissions are a lot larger and more profitable. But generally, that 20-to-1 ratio is what you want to keep in mind as you're thinking about when to add more pieces to your team. So your first hire is an admin. They're going to handle things like transaction coordination, listing coordination, any paperwork to buy back your time. So you're doing higher income producing activities and not being caught up in the paperwork side of things. The second hire is also going to be an admin. That's going to be somebody that handles things like your marketing, your past client follow-ups, your client events, and brings you leverage in that areas. The third hire will be the showing partner, which we talked about, and the fourth hire will be the ISA. Once you've added these 4 positions, you now have a green light to go ahead and add a buyer agent. You're going to be able to provide a lot of leverage for that agent, and they're going to see a tremendous amount of value from it as well. Is there anything else you want to add on this one before I move on to concept 2, Colton?
Nope, that's it. One thing, and you may touch on this, the big thing in the kickback that I get is, well, I can't afford it. And I totally get it. It was Eric that on any of these hires or any of these people that I've added, yes, on the front end, you do have to take a step back because you are going to have to, of course, pay the expense. I think Mike and both myself, I can definitely attest to this. In the long run, it creates far more revenue and far more profitability with far less risk and way more control.
And if you're on a team as an agent, then the team's going to take care of the admin hires for you. You need to move right to the showing partner. Like that's how you're going to dramatically increase your transaction count. We have 2 agents on our team beyond Rachel and myself that also have partners. They were hitting 35 to 40 units a year. And boom, the showing partner bought back about 15 to 20 hours a week for them, helps them sell a lot more and also enjoy a better quality of life. So that's concept 1 is the model. Concept 2 is the people. Everything comes down to a people problem, in my opinion. Like when we get the right who, then the how kind of takes care of itself. So I've kind of got it flowing out this way. Like it starts with hiring the right people, and then it comes down to training and onboarding those people right. And then it comes down to accountability and coaching, which ultimately results in the last part, which is the part we all want, and that's the growth. So the most important thing, in my opinion, is to hire slow. Like we're trying to be 6 to 12 months ahead of hiring when we think about, who do we need to start considering adding to the team. So if I need to add an ISA in 12 months, I'm going to start that process probably in the next 3 to 6 months. I've got plenty of time to find that right person and then enough time to put them through the process of actually vetting them out. We've put the 9-step process in over here that we follow when it comes to our hiring. And this process requires discipline to run, but I assure you and promise you that it will save so many headaches for you. When you rush the hire, when you get the hire wrong, you're going to hurt your culture, and you're also going to be more than likely repeating the process and starting from square one. You do not want to get stuck there. You want to apply this process. So I just want to quickly walk you through it. The first step is casting a wide net, and Colton does a fabulous job at this because casting a wide net does not mean simply putting a job on Indeed and thinking that now, hey, we're just going to wait for people to come to us. That's a very passive way of attracting people. Colton, how do you get in front of so many different people? Almost all of your hires have come from your social media.
Yeah. So we're just really intentional. Like you will never ever see me post just listed, just sold because nobody gives a shit. And it's just the way that most of us do it. And I get it. It's an easy thing to do, but it's so easy to tell what clicks with people and what doesn't. When you post a just listed or just sold, you'll get like 3 likes. And when you post a picture of you and your team out at the bar, or you guys at the beach doing a team outing, or you guys during your office meetings, it gets 100 times the engagement. So really quickly, I was like, okay, people don't like the just listed, the just sold. So I'm going to post more of my team. I'm going to post more of our outings. I'm going to post more of the funny stuff. We have a guy in here that it's his mission to scare me. Like he hides, he sets up his camera, he hides behind doors. So we post that type of stuff because it's kind of like a little bit of we look at it as a reality show. Like people know Michael. Like he posts that stuff on his social media all the time, and he gets requests. He's like, dude, you got to scare Colton again. And like he'll get requests from people because my entire team and our admin and our staff, they become little characters that these people get familiar with. So it's just posting like my family. Like there's no business page, there's no personal page. It's all my life. And I really stole that from Tom Ferry. Tom Ferry, it's his coaching, it's his life, it's his kids, it's his grandma who lives in home with them, it's their dinners, it's the games that they play. People are attracted, like I want them to see who we are. We don't filter. I cuss in my real life, so I cuss on my social media. I'm not saying it's the most professional thing or you got to do it, but when you show up at my office for an interview, you know who we are, you know what we stand for, you know how we talk, you know, you're not ever going to be surprised when you step foot into this office because we don't put on this fake facade of how we want to be portrayed to the public and then operate differently internally. Like what you see is what you get. And as a result of that, the people who come in here stay. For we have become a larger team and we haven't had anybody leave. And the reason I'm confident in that is that these people knew what they were signing up for. We didn't bullshit them. We were very straight up and honest with what's going to be expected, what they're going to be held accountable to. And that if that doesn't seem appealing to them, don't join us because you will not be happy here. And it's all come organic.
And you're using a lot of reels on Instagram, right?
Yeah, reels are amazing.
Why reels instead of stories? Like
stories are for entertaining your existing audience, like the people who already follow you. They're just for entertaining and keeping in front of the people who do not know you. Who do know you. Reels give you organic reach. You will get way more exposure because the reels, the more you get consistent with it, like our growth on this stuff has really kicked off since using reels because it's getting you in front of people. Their algorithms work really well. Being like, all right, Mike, we're all into real estate. It has ways of figuring all this stuff out. It puts you in front of more agents, more people. And it's going to organically help you grow your following and your audience.
Yep, absolutely. And you're not waiting to post things until you need to hire. You're continually putting out this kind of behind the scenes look at you and your life, right?
We're always either hiring and or creating a bench for potential future hires. So there's never a point where I'm going to tell somebody, hey, we're not hiring at the moment, because there is a point where we actually are actively hiring for that position and or we're creating a bench for the future hire.
Yeah, and you're always you're kind of staying on top of people's mind as well on what you're doing and how you're doing it. So if they end up thinking about making a move or wanting to get into real estate, you're obviously going to be something that they're going to look further into. So I looked around at one of our team meetings a few months ago, and about 70% of the people in the room came from our sphere. Like these are people we knew, like they were clients that turned into team members or friends of friends or friends of team members, you know? And so I think it's important you really start thinking about your sphere when it comes to hiring and really intentionally putting out what you're looking for, why you're looking for it, what the opportunity is. And more than likely, that person will come from your sphere and not from an online job board. So that's casting the wide net. The second one is researching candidates. This is basically just an elimination step to check out their social media, look further into them, and just make sure there's no red flags. You're looking for kind of a values and culture fit there. The third one is career night. We don't do a career night. They do in Fargo just because Eric Hatch is like the mayor of Fargo, and everybody comes out for career night when Eric is there. But career night is basically where you have everyone come in and you meet them collectively. They kind of, you go over the position that you're discussing and hiring for. You try to make it sound really crappy and see who sticks around. You also try to meet people face to face and really see the whites of their eyes and if this is somebody you want to do life with. From there, we do essay questions where we send them a list of questions to fill out. And we're again just looking to see what is this person's values? How do they articulate things? Can they actually write? Things like that. And then step 5 is the phone interview, where we just interview them on the phone and go through a series of questions, again, just trying to disqualify or qualify them. At that point, we do reference checks, and we do a 3x3 approach where we talk to the 3 references that the person gave us, and then we ask each one of those references if they know anyone that also knows the candidate, and then we'll reach out to that person as well. And we keep going until we're 3 levels deep. Oftentimes, the truth is not found at the surface level. It's found 2 or 3 layers deeper if you find those connections using that approach. Number 7 is the panel interview. Our panel interviews typically take 60, 90 minutes. And really it's just understanding who this person is and what their life story is and what got them to this boardroom today. Again, it's not really focused on the job. It's focused on understanding the person. I really want to emphasize that. Our hiring panel is 4 people. And collectively, those 4 people run this part of our business. At that point, validation by department is taking the person out and interacting with them in a social dynamic. So if you're an agent, for example, the other agents are going to take you out for happy hour and see if this is somebody that they want to do life with. Super important part of the process is to make sure that you're not putting a turd in the pool of your agents there. Like, you want to make sure that you're getting people that are going to actually connect with your existing culture and sandbox. And then finally, at that point, we do the job offer. So I know it's a quick rundown. I just want to make sure that we use all the time that we've got today. I'm just going to do a quick time check, Colton. Yeah, we got about 15 minutes. So we got 3 more concepts to go. Concept 3 is your culture. Again, going back to culture, I think that it's super important that you look at your people from the mindset that we talked about in the beginning, that you work for your people do not work for you. If you take that approach and you take ownership for everything that Colton said earlier, you are going to come from a place of serving your people. I think that a lot of agents, they look at people they're trying to bring into their culture and they're like, hey, my client is buyers and sellers, and that's not your client. Your client is the people that work with you. So just kind of keep that in mind. The other part of culture I want to talk about is casting vision. Casting vision has to be super clear. You, as the leader, you're responsible for telling people where you're going, how you're going to get there, and why the heck they should go along on that ride with you. Can you talk about that, Colton, and how you do that?
Yeah, I think this is a big mistake that everybody makes. And we all talk about culture and everybody's like, oh, our culture, our culture, our culture. And then when you ask them like, well, what is your culture? It's like, well, we're all a good group of people, like to go out and grab drinks together. It was really important to us that we defined what our culture was, and our culture is very much by design. It's not by, it used to be to where it's like, we really need to figure out what fits in this and what doesn't, because we do go deep on we adhere to the going deep, not wide. But with our growth has required us to also go wide, which Eric, our coach, is something that he fully supports. But in order for us to do that, we needed to understand who fits within that culture. And in order to do that, we had to identify what it was. So like, our core values are something that we hire and fire by. It's something that our agents are required to internalize, because we're accountable. We develop our people. We embrace change. We understand that this is a constantly changing and evolving industry. And in order for us to stay ahead of the curve, we need to accept it and look at change as a positive. We know, like, transparency internally and externally, we operate with full transparency for our agents. There is nothing about our P&Ls. Our P&Ls are discussed every single month. My team, it's something that people are scared to do. I let them know, or definitely a for-profit business, there is a profit point that we do absolutely have to hit. Otherwise, it doesn't justify us making these investments and doing the things that we're doing. Our mission statement is known throughout the team. They understand what our goal is and what our team vision is. And that if that doesn't seem appealing to them, or if that's something that doesn't align in their world, then we're not the fit for them. And I do think, like, this whole culture concept in our industry, it's a hot word, buzzword that people like to use. And I think it's something that people don't give enough time and attention to.
It seems like just something that people stick on a wall in their office and they're like, this is our culture. And, it's not. Like, your culture is what people feel when they're actually working in your business. So
Yeah.
it's totally different from that. When it comes to the leadership, I really think that leadership is a combination of art and science. Like the science is like the KPI tracking, making sure the person is held accountable to the standards that you have and that they've set for themselves. And then the art part is really the empathy and connecting with the person. And you can't sway too much. Like if you're too artsy, then they lose track of the KPIs and actually performing and accountability. But if you go too hard on the accountability and you don't consider the empathy part, you're just an asshole and a tyrant that nobody wants to work with. So you have to really balance the art and the science of leadership, and it takes time to develop that balance. A lot of people think that leaders are born, and while there are some people that just inherently are natural gifted leaders, most people need to develop that skill set just like anything else. It's not just something you're going to randomly show up with one day. You have to intentionally work on that skill set if you want to be in leadership. Proximity is the next part, and talking about proximity is just keeping those people connected to you that are super important. So if you have a team of 30 or 40 people, there's no way that you're going to have proximity with all of those people. You're going to have subcultures within your team. But you need to identify who the most important people are that you're going to spend time with. Some of you have probably read the pumpkin plan, and the pumpkin plan concept is that you're going to disproportionately spend your time with your big pumpkins. And I love that concept when it comes to scaling proximity, because proximity is super tough to scale as you build your team. But if you don't have proximity, if you're not connected to your people, you're going to have retention issues. We have an office, and Colton's got an office, so we've got a hub of energy that people come and plug into every day. And for some of us, that's super, super important. The last part on culture I want to touch on is just career progression, and this connects back to vision. People have to be able to grow with you, or they will outgrow you. So for us, career progression looks like this. You can start as a showing partner and be there for 2 years, get a salary and a small commission. Then you can graduate and earn, not get given, but earn your way into being a team agent. And then once you sell 100 homes as a team agent, you can earn your way into an elite agent. And elite agents have the best splits on the planet. They get treated like gold. They have private offices. They have showing partners, all these other things. So you have to create this progression that people can grow with you so they stick around and they have something to continually be reaching for. Do you do that same thing on your team, Colton?
Yeah, 100%. It's and we're gonna run out of time, so I won't even go deeper on that. But yeah, everything is earned, nothing is given. Like when it comes to accountability, I think this is one of the most key parts. I'll be quick on it, but it's important to go on. Is like you can absolutely KPI your death. Like focus on this type of stuff that's important. We don't need to focus on phone calls. Focus on conversations. We need to focus on appointment set rates, met rates, contracts written. However, there needs to be a level of accountability. And in this whole world where if they're not a showing partner and not salaried, there's only so many things you can do legally with a 1099 employee. So having things that are earned and having lead opportunities and lead pillars that are given once certain benchmarks are hit, and turning people off of those opportunities when they don't hit those metrics is the fastest way to hold your people accountable. Because when the phone stops ringing, they do panic, and the next week they will make sure that they qualify for the good lead opportunities. And that's something that there isn't. Like my best friend, I have 2 of my best friends that are on the team. If they screw up and don't hit the metrics, their phones are turned off. They understand that they have to earn the opportunities, and that was made very clear from the beginning. So there is a good way to keep a big team accountable, and it all has to do with opportunity and the ability to earn more as they do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. When you give people things without making them earn it, you breed entitlement. And that's a really, really bad place to be. And that will completely implode your culture. That's where we were kind of at in 2019, where people just felt entitled, just waiting for leads to come in instead of going on the hunt for their business. That's not where you want to go. Talking about technology. So Colton and I run the exact same technology. These are the 3 big systems we use. Technology is number 4 for a reason, guys. And it's because if you haven't gotten the model right, the people and the culture, then I don't give a shit about which technology you're using. It doesn't matter what you're using because you're going to fail. You have to get those first 3 right. And then the technology can be a force multiplier to have organization and efficiencies within your business. So the first one is Sierra Interactive. That's the CRM that we both use. We were just at the Sierra conference a couple weeks ago together in Louisville. Super awesome that Eric and I spoke at. They're the best CRM on the planet, in my opinion. I love their product. I love the Sierra automations. I love the Sierra app. And they also have partners that work with them as well. The partners they work with are Hatch Systems and GGMS. Hatch Systems is the one that Colton and I both use. And this is kind of a done for you operating system within your CRM. So text campaigns, email campaigns, all of these ways to keep your CRM organized and make sure you've got leads running on action plans so they're continually being touched. The final one is the analytical side of things, and that's where we use Sisu. Sisu measures things like appointments set, met, signed, pending, closed, breaks them down by agents, and that's a big coaching tool for us. Like I said at the beginning of this webinar, I will sit down in my one-on-ones with my big pumpkins, and I will look at their pipeline with them and say, okay, how many appointments did you set? How many did you meet? And then I can coach them based on those ratios on where they need to refocus or skill develop on. But without the data, I'm just guessing, and they're just guessing too. Oftentimes what agents tell themselves is completely untrue when you actually look at the data. I did a one-on-one about 4 months ago with an agent on our team. I sat down, I said, awesome job. You set 12 appointments last month. Tell me how many of those came from PPC? And he's like, I think 5. And I pulled them up and every single one of them was Zillow. So that tells me he's picking up the phone, he's having these easy conversations, but he's not actually doing the nurturing that comes from working PPC leads. Does that make sense, Colton?
1000%. Yeah. Having access to the data is the best way. And for us too, like the data doesn't lie. It's the biggest, fastest, most needed reality check that you can give yourself, your business, and your agents.
Yeah. And the other big ones that we use also in there, we use the lead source tracking, lead source ROI. I also like to know how many of my agents' deals are coming from their sphere versus paid for business. Super important benchmarks to be measuring. So if you need connections on any of these, let me know, reach out to me. I can connect you with our people at each one of them. The fifth and final one I want to talk about today is the marketing side of things. I'm seeing a lot of teams that are getting overly reliant on Zillow Flex. I think it's a super dangerous place to be. I don't like having Zillow or Realtor.com collectively make up more than about 30-40% of total business, and even 40% is super high to me. So I think it's important you think about playing the long game when it comes to how to market your business. I've built this triangle on the slide that you see there, and PCSOI, which stands for past clients and sphere of influence, makes up the bottom of it. And in a very healthy world, 50% of your business or more will come from PCSOI. These are people you already know, people that already trust you, and that have already worked with you possibly as well. And so if you can get about 50% of your business from them, it's going to be low cost business, but you have to do intentional things to stimulate this part of your business. I recommend doing client events. We do 3 per year, which allows us to pour into these people before they transact with us or before we expect anything, or if we've already done a deal with them before the next time we do something with them. And these are just soft reach outs where we text or call them to say, hey, we've got this awesome client event coming out. We're doing photos with Santa as an example. Come out, bring the kids, and we'd love to see you. We're not asking for referrals. We're just simply offering something that naturally referrals come out as a byproduct of it. The second part is PPC, which Colton talked about quite a bit before. Pay per click is what that stands for. Basically, when people Google or Yahoo search, homes for sale in Seattle, you're going to pop up. A pay-per-click lead, it's going to be a long nurture. The average conversion rate nationwide is below 1% for PPC, but I know on Colton's team and on my team, we've averaged more than 3% on PPC, and a lot of that is because we run Hatch Systems, and we have very competent pay-per-click companies that we work with that manage our campaigns with Google. So I love the cost per lead on pay-per-click, but it is a long-term nurture, and without ISAs, it can be very challenging to convert these consistently. What's the average conversion cycle for a pay-per-click lead, Colton?
For us, and we're still, so right now it's looking, and it's so difficult because our data on it, since we just started using Nick, the person who runs both of our PPC, we've been running it now for about 5 months. So we really don't have accurate data yet on it. It would take, in order for us really to have that number, we need to be running it for at least a year.
So I will just share with you that we do about, we close about 3.46% of our pay-per-click leads, and the average close duration is we will close 1% within the first 90 days, and then another 2.46% over the following 2 to 3 years. So it's a very long-term play. You have to have very good systems to run pay-per-click profitably. The final one is Zillow and Realtor. Those are just the low-hanging fruit. These are usually direct calls that you take, and these are super easy people to turn into appointments. They're doing a property inquiry. They're pretty much reaching out to you instead of you to them, and so they're going to convert super easily. But again, you have to be super careful not to get too out of balance and have too many of these Zillow and Realtor opportunities for your team. They need to be fighting for those and not have destructive abundance occurring within your business. The final one on the outside here, because it should be running on your entire database, no matter where you got the leads from, is retargeting. And retargeting, I love doing video for it. So I'm going to put in front of my clients like a market report video, top 10 ways to make your offer stand out. I'm going to retarget my database so people are seeing my name on Facebook, on Instagram, on Pinterest, instead of just in their email inbox. The next best thing to somebody meeting with me is to watch one of my videos where I can articulate a concept for them and they can get to know me better. Anything else to add to that quickly, Colton?
Nope.
You're doing video, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So we got to wrap it up there. We ran up right up to the last minute. If you want to get in touch with Colton or I put my phone number up on there. I'm on Marco Polo. Colton's on there. And you got our website, novakforreal.com. Colton, where can people reach out to you if they want to connect with you, man?
You can reach me on my cell phone. My cell phone number is 949. I'll put it into the box, 949-424-9975.
And they can
or on
find
Instagram.
Facebook.
Instagram DMs is easy. My name, Colton Whitney.
The Colton Whitney. All right, buddy. Thanks so much for your time, Colton, today. Awesome to hang with you again. Had so much fun with you guys in Vegas last week. I'm out, and I'll catch you later.
Thank you, brother.
Bye.